Now, the next step is to have the sponsor of the amendment explain it and for us, and that would be Councilman Palladino.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for holding the hearing. Would you like me to begin by reading it?
Yeah.
So this is proposal to amend City Ordinance 2.48.020. If you go to the City Clerk's page and you go to Code of Ordinances, it's probably easier to find by clicking on Chapter 2, Article 4, Division 7, Section 2-262. I'm sort of confused about how the other numbering system works. So if that helps you find it, it's there. The current ordinance states the library board shall consist of 5 directors appointed by the mayor with the approval of the city council. The directors to be chosen from the citizens of the city at large with reference to their fitness for office. Provided, however, that not more than 1 member of the city council shall be a member of the library board at any one time. Provided further that 1 such member shall be a member of the Board of Education of the Hillsdale Community Schools. My amendment would simply strike the last line, provided further that 1 such member shall be a member of the Board of Education of the Hillsdale Community Schools. I believe that state law authorizes the city to make this change. MCL 397, which governs libraries generally, but section 202, subsection 1 states, if a council decides to establish and maintain a public library and reading room under this act, the mayor of that city shall, with the approval of the city council, appoint a governing board of 5 members for the library and reading room, chosen from the citizens at large with reference to their fitness for that office. Not more than 1 member of the city council may be a member of the board at any one time. So the only restriction that the state puts on us is that the council cannot have more than 1 seat on the board. As for the other requirements, I've seen other jurisdictions put other requirements, but it's all determined by the locality. I would first like to offer 3 reasons to support the amendment, and then I will respond to 3 criticisms of it that I've heard. I believe that these 3 considerations, if they cannot be refuted, of course I'm open to hearing more criticisms, are sufficient for the Operations and Governance Committee to recommend the proposal to the full City Council. I will argue that the ordinance proposal upholds the authority and responsibility of the mayor's office, that it defends the principle of no taxation without representation for the city's tax-paying citizens, and that it protects the city as an independent and self-governing political body. First, the ordinance proposal would ensure authority and responsibility in the mayor's office. And using the word responsibility, I mean that the mayor should be responsible for all of the city's boards and commissions. I counted 19 boards and commissions on the city's website. This sprawling board and commission system means that political authority in Hillsdale is deeply divided and widely distributed. In addition to the board and commission system, the city divides authority among its employees and contractors. These divisions make it difficult for citizens to locate the source of political authority, which slowly undermines democratic control, trust, and participation. The mayor of Hillsdale is a weak executive office, but the mayor does have authority over 1 thing: hiring employees and nominating candidates for boards and commissions. The city charter states the mayor shall, with the approval of council, make the following appointments: city clerk, city treasurer, chief of police, fire chief, city attorney, board of public works, engineering committee, board of public health. We don't have that anymore. City hospital board, board of special assessors, board of appeals, city planning commission, recreation commission, Lakeview Cemetery trustees, and the following standing committees of the council: finance, street and rubbish, police, fire, ordnance, airport, city improvement, industrial relations, city hall, parks, and any other in the future that the council may deem necessary. The charter gives the mayor the authority to appoint, and the city's ordinances should not restrict that power without good cause. When citizens want political reform, they should have a clear and direct avenue to seek it. They should have the opportunity to hold one executive official, the mayor, or a few legislative officials, the council members, accountable. They should not have to navigate a system that makes final political responsibility so difficult to locate. The current ordinance gives the mayor an out. If the public approves of his decision, then he can accept praise for his wise nomination. If the public disapproves of his decision, he can deflect criticism and state that, in practice, he had no authority over the outcome because a 44-year-old ordinance restricted him. This has disastrous effects on democratic politics. It shows the public that the mayor, despite being the highest-ranking official in the city, does not have the authority to represent its beliefs, interests, and needs. It shows the public that their political participation will not influence the city's personnel or policy decisions. It shows that their decisions to contribute to a candidate's campaign, to knock doors for a candidate, or to vote for a candidate will not alter the political process. As soon as this happens, the democratic process becomes ineffective and infuriating. But there is another course available. If this ordinance passes, the mayor will be forced to make a tough decision, but the decision will be entirely his own. The public will have complete clarity about his political positions. Then the mayor must take his case to the people without the plausible deniability that comes from obscure ordinance provisions. Finally, the people, with the excuses cleared away, can determine whether they want the mayor to continue to serve them. Second, the ordinance as currently written violates the principle of no taxation without representation by preventing Hillsdale citizens from having full control of the library board. At the same time, it grants representation to citizens who do not pay the library's property tax operating millage. The argument follows from two universally acknowledged ideas. First, only citizens who reside in a certain political jurisdiction, whether a township, city, state, or otherwise, pay taxes to that jurisdiction. Second, only the citizens in the tax-paying jurisdiction have the right to political representation. This means that citizens outside the tax-paying jurisdiction are not entitled to representation in that jurisdiction. The current ordinance does not adhere to these standards. The citizens of the city of Hillsdale do not independently elect school board members. The school board chooses to elect its representatives from at-large districts. When I wrote that, I'm curious if you looked at state law, whether they're required to do that by the state. I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if chooses is the right word there. That would be interesting to look into. Regardless, these districts include townships outside of the city. The at-large elections give townships the ability to sway the elections. So the city's voters could narrowly choose candidate A over candidate B, but the township's voters could choose candidate B over candidate A by a wide margin, thus giving the victory to candidate A in defiance of the wishes of the citizens of Hillsdale. When the time came for the mayor to nominate a school board member to the library board, he would not have any choice that Hillsdale citizens truly preferred. The school board's at-large election process gives the township the ability to control a seat on the city's library board, preventing Hillsdale citizens from having full representative control over their institutions. Some have said, it is one seat. The school board member won't control the library board. I will refer you to the mayor's comments from the council meeting on Monday, in which he described the seat as a swing vote. At the margin, one seat determines the difference between representation and disenfranchisement. In addition, the current ordinance gives undue representation to the townships. The townships have no rightful claim to govern the city's library. The townships do not pay into the property tax millage that supports the library, so they have no right to representation. Under the current system, the city grants them representation in an institution that their taxes do not support. the current ordinance, combined with the changing borders of the Hillsdale Community School District, also creates an odd situation in which the library board seat could remain vacant. By statute, the Hillsdale Community School Board must have one seat on the Hillsdale Community Library Board. The Hillsdale Community School Board does not draw its representatives exclusively from the city of Hillsdale. The representatives can and do come from the entire school district, which extends well outside the city's boundaries and into the outlying townships. This means that some of the school board's trustees are ineligible for the library board seat due to their residence outside the city of Hillsdale. This further restricts the mayor's appointment power. But a worse outcome could occur. If all of the school board representatives lived outside the city of Hillsdale, then the mayor would lack the authority to fill the seat at all. In principle, then, the current ordinance could force the seat to remain vacant due to ineligibility. And I'm not convinced that this is merely a theoretical consideration. Third, the mayor and the city council should not share the city's authority to spend tax dollars with separate public bodies. The school board has different aims than the city library. According to the Board of Education's website, the school board exists for the purpose of providing a system of free public education for children in grades preschool through adult education. The city library exists to serve the informational, educational, and recreational needs of the citizens of Hillsdale. Organizations with different aims should be governed independently. Now, I will say here, because I don't think I wrote this anywhere else, that there's obvious overlap here. And people have said that removing this board would sever communication between the school board and the library board, or that it would in some way harm that relationship. I don't see any reason this needs to be the case. I sat on the board with the school board representative, and I'm not sure that I ever heard the community school board's interests brought up in any particular way. But lots of bodies cooperate without having shared political control, right? Hillsdale cooperates with Jonesville, the city council cooperates with the school board, but they don't share seats. Now, I would be willing, if we wanted to put into this ordinance something like the school board is welcome to have an unofficial or a non-statutory, non-voting member sitting at the meetings to communicate the needs and the interests of the school board, that would be perfectly acceptable. Alternatively, they're just willing to, of course they can send someone to discuss issues with the director, with members of the school board, and I'm sure that the city would be more than amenable to serve those interests where they do overlap. And of course, if you read those mission statements, there is overlap, but they are not the same. To return to the statement. The school board reported $18.45 million in revenue for the 2022-23 fiscal year, as well as a $4.28 million fund balance, giving the school board $22.34 million in funds available to appropriate, according to its website. By contrast, the city had a $4.8 million general fund revenue last year. But the overall financial numbers do not matter much for this argument. The school board appropriated $180,000 for library services during the 2022-2023 fiscal year. In the most recent budget, Hillsdale's library director submitted a proposed budget of $238,591. The budgetary situation does not justify the school board's partial control over the city's funds. The school board, however, could reciprocate this generous ordinance that includes a school board member on the library board. If the Hillsdale Community School Board offered the Hillsdale City Council a permanent seat in its body, then I would certainly consider withdrawing my proposal. Thank you, committee members and citizens, for your attention to this matter. I would like to briefly respond to a few criticisms that I've received. I apologize to those in the audience who have already heard my responses over the phone or an email, but I thank them for bringing their concerns to my attention. By far the most common criticism I have received is a historical argument. Hillsdale has had this ordinance in place for at least 44 years, so the council should not change it now. I will not accuse these concerned citizens of the logical fallacy known as an appeal to antiquity. I consider history and tradition to be trustworthy, though fallible guides. The argument depends upon whether historical circumstances have changed. I assume the city council that originally passed this ordinance had good intentions and prudent reasons for doing so, but time has changed the circumstances that originally made the ordinance prudent. First, almost all children attended public schools 40 years ago. Today, the available evidence indicates that about 60% of Hillsdale's children attend public schools, though the statistic has been difficult to verify due to the school district's irregular boundaries. I'm willing to be corrected on this point. Second, the school district's boundaries appear to have changed in the past 40 years, though I'm again willing to be corrected on this point. Third, the school system's budget has grown considerably in the past 40 years. In the 1970s, the school district did not receive $12,800 per student as it did in 21, according to Bulletin 1014. You can find that on the Michigan.gov. In the 1970s, the school board had fewer resources, and they may not have even had their own libraries. From what I found, it looks like they did have a single library, but it wasn't anything as substantial as it is today. Since then, the schools have received increased funding. Consider that in 2011, the earliest data I could find from Bulletin 1014, Hillsdale received only $8,200 per student. The second criticism is that the school board seat gives representation to citizens of Hillsdale and Jefferson townships, which contribute to the Hillsdale Community Library. I believe that they give $5,000. Is anyone?
$5,000 from Jefferson Township, $8,800 from Hillsdale Township.
5,000 Jefferson, 8,800, okay. And I think we actually did the calculation at a library board meeting not too long ago, thanks to an inquiry from a citizen, I think it was Jack McLean. And we figured out that they were getting their money's worth by card. I think it's $40 for non-Hillsdale residents to pay, and I think it came out to less than $30, but it would be good to get that on the record with more clarity. City council members have even stated this idea that Hillsdale and Jefferson contribute. But we must distinguish between taxes and contracts. Hillsdale and Jefferson townships have voluntarily contracted with the city of Hillsdale to purchase library memberships for their residents. The city of Hillsdale has not and cannot levy taxes against the citizens of Hillsdale or Jefferson townships. If Hillsdale or Jefferson citizens do not feel that the contractual agreement benefits them, then they must elect representatives who will remove them from it. The property tax paying citizens of Hillsdale must pay into the library fund, or they will lose their homes. Again, taxation warrants representation. A contractual agreement to provide services does not warrant representation, and to give it violates a fundamental political principle. Separate political bodies frequently engage with each other in this way. Consider, for example, when a Michigan resident drives on the Ohio Turnpike. He or she agrees to pay to use Ohio's roads, but that payment does not entitle Michigan to political representation in Ohio because representation depends upon residents and taxation. That's sort of an abstract argument, but now I just thought of our most recent example that comes to mind. We have what do we call it? A reciprocal services agreement with other public utilities. Mutual aid, I believe is the name, right? We contract with Bryan, and that's even in another state. Contract with Coldwater, Jonesville, maybe. I think there were 9 of them that came to help us. That's a wonderful service, right? But that is a contractual service. That does not entitle the city of Hillsdale to representation in those jurisdictions. Now, I think we should have good communication with them. We should maybe even send the mayor or some sort of representative from the Hillsdale to communicate them with them on a yearly or quarterly basis to make sure that we are agreeing on the fundamentals of things, and we should constantly renew the contract to make sure that that relationship is strong and steady. But that is not the same as a system of taxation that requires political representation. It's a mutual agreement between independent political bodies. Finally, I've heard that the ordinance proposal would benefit Hillsdale College, or that I have taken orders from the college by proposing it. I'm somewhat resigned to hearing this complaint attached to everything I do as a councilman. It is an ad hominem argument. I could easily respond that keeping the ordinance as written benefits the school board, and that those who oppose the amendment are taking orders from the powerful and wealthy school district. But I will refrain because it prevents the ordinance from being discussed on its merits. It gets us nowhere. It seeks to end public deliberation when this committee has been called today to deliberate about matters affecting the public. I would, however, like to point out a few curious things about this criticism. First, the ordinance amendment would open up the library board seat to all of Hillsdale's citizens, thus making the seat more democratic. I believe the proposal's opponents to be amongst the most ardent defenders of democracy and the will of the people, so I find their resistance strange. Second, if the ordinance changes, the mayor would be able to choose from thousands of eligible candidates from the city at large. But if the ordinance remains as it is, he will have to choose from 6 candidates. Do my opponents want to give 6 well-connected individuals who already hold positions of authority in the city more authority, or do they want to distribute that authority more widely? I've also heard on good authority that half of the 6 school board members have deep personal and financial ties to Hillsdale College. So, the current ordinance gives people affiliated with Hillsdale College a 50% chance of being represented on the school board, while the ordinance amendment would drastically reduce that chance. And the mayor has already said that he would choose a candidate of a certain persuasion. What percentage of the city's total residents have such direct ties to the college? It is not 50%, and I hesitate to believe that it is 30%. With that, I will conclude my remarks. Thank you for your time, Councilman Sharp, Stuchel, and Morrissey. I look forward to your deliberation on this topic, and I ask that you recommend this ordinance amendment to the full council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Palladino, and thank you particularly because I know that your attendance here was a difficult matter for you personally. I appreciate the fact that you did this for us. Our next order of business is public comment on the proposed amendment. The usual rules apply. 3 minutes, no interruptions. The person who's recognized has the floor for uninterrupted comment for those 3 minutes. And please state your name so that our diligent secretary can get you down for our minutes. And if you haven't, by the way, if you haven't signed in on the sign-in sheet, please do so. That's a record of your attendance. Thank you, sir.
Good evening. You turned it off. Where's the on? This one? Yes, got it. Thank you. Good evening. Forgive me, everyone, for putting myself forward and for my brief comments. I have to run off to an evening work shift. My name is George Allen. I live in Ward 4 with my wife and 3 children. While I am currently serving as a member of the Community Library Board, I am not speaking today in that capacity, nor am I acting on behalf of the board, which has not chosen to offer an official opinion on this question. I'm speaking in my private capacity as a city resident. I'm here to speak in favor of the proposed change to the ordinance, and I offer the following brief remarks and explanation. First, the ordinance as written diminishes the mayor's authority to choose whomsoever he deems fit for the position. We recently had a situation in which the mayor informed the school of his choice based on the available applicants, and the school informed the mayor that they had their own procedure for making that selection, and that he could not simply choose whomever he thought best. This puts the school board in a position of authority over a city appointment, an authority which by law belongs to the mayor and the city council. Second, while township residents may serve on the school board, only city residents may serve on the library board, limiting the pool of candidates available for library board appointments, as Councilman Palladino has already pointed out. Finally, as has already been pointed out more eloquently and at greater length, the city and the school district are different jurisdictions with their own elections and their own populations. It does not make sense for a non-city entity to have control over the board seat of a department of the city, supported by the taxation of city residents. Those are all the remarks I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comments?
Good evening, Councilman. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. I already gave my comments as well as my wife. My name is Sam Lair. I'm the president of Ward 3. As I said, my wife and I had already emailed our comments to you, and Councilman Stuccio, I believe you said you'd put them in the record, so I don't want to put it in twice, but there is one point that I want to reiterate from my wife's comments too. She would give it, but she's nervous, so I'll do it on her behalf. So, my mother-in-law is a librarian back home, and anyone who works in the school district or is, a teacher, administrator, whatever, they know that there is petty politics in every single organization. So just because someone is affiliated with the school district, whether they be an administrator, a school board member, a librarian, or a teacher, doesn't necessarily mean they know how a library should be run, or that a librarian knows how a school classroom should be run. The title does not confer any sort of meritocracy by its own. That said, I believe this is fundamentally about qualifications at the end of the day. So if we care about the library board having the highest qualified individuals running it, we should expand the number of people, the number of applicants to include the entirety of the city, as opposed to restricting it to the 6 or so individuals. Furthermore, as Josh already reiterated, but I would like to as well, this is also about accountability. I believe we have a dearth of accountability in this city, or in this community in general, and the best way to improve that is by giving those duly elected by the citizens of this community, namely the city council and the mayor's office, the discretion to act in the best interest of the community. I believe this does this. The last little comment I wanted to make is I want to ensure to the board and also the community here that my support of this has nothing to do with the controversies that have been surrounding the library for the past few months. This could be an amendment about any other board or any other commission. I believe there's nothing more than streamline government and improve accountability. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sam Negus, as my wife Laura here, we both live in Ward 3. Just want to speak very briefly on behalf of the proposed change. I would reiterate everything that Councilman Palladino said, but particularly something he said briefly toward the end in his responses section relating to changed historical circumstances. This measure or provision is close to 50 years old. As Councilman Palladino said, 50 years ago, pretty close to, I would guess, 100% of children in this city under the age of 18 went to Hillsdale Community School, and this provision would have made a considerable deal more sense. The homeschool movement in America basically did not exist 50 years ago. There are now hundreds of homeschool children in this town. Hillsdale Academy was founded in the year 2000. Will Carlton and at least one other charter school in the Hillsdale Classical Academy that was, Hillsdale Classical Charter School that's, 2, 3, 4 years old at this point. Those are only the ones off the top of my head. I'm sure there are others. There's a surprising number of schooling options in this town for a pleasant, lovable, but admittedly obscure town in southern Michigan of 10,000 people. friends and family outside the town are amazed how many school options we have for our children. The parents of all of those children pay several hundreds, if not thousands, of tax dollars per year to the community schools, which, leaving aside how we may or may not feel about that, the schools are doing fairly well out of families that don't even use those services. So in addition to having a further vote on the governing board of other services that we use, seems a tad cheeky, frankly, so.
Thank you.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Nathan Schluter. I know several of you, Councilman Sharp, nice to see you. I just want also to speak in favor of the ordinance and add a perspective that is implicit in what's been said. I've lived in Hillsdale since 2005. We have 9 children. So I know some things about children's literature. I also have a PhD in philosophy and literature. So I teach literature, and I love literature, and I care about books a great deal, and I use the library. And I think I am with a lot of other people in this city who are very interested in the library, make use of the library, who are not within the domain of the Hillsdale School and the school board. I have nothing against the Hillsdale School Board or the system. I'm impressed with what they've done. I like their work. We have just chosen alternative means of education for our kids. But which members of the board, what would the qualifications be for the members of this Hillsdale School Board to serve on the library board? I know at least one of them does finance work at the college. He's an eligible candidate under the current ordinance to serve on the library board. With all due respect to him, and I don't know the others, I've been in education and I have children who I've been teaching, I think more than he has. And I see that this ordinance simply does not exclude anyone. It simply expands the eligibility to include someone like me or others that I know. There's no reason why the mayor could not still choose someone from that board or anyone else. It just expands the menu of options to allow more say from other people in the city. So I see this as a really reasonable and good proposal. I guess one question I would have is, why does a member of the city council sit on the library board? Would the same argument go to the city council as to the library board? I'm not sure. I think that's worth examining as well. But those are my remarks, and I too apologize. I need to be home with my children so my wife can get to a different meeting. But thank you for your attention and for your good work for the city.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for taking some time this evening to listen to all of us. My name is Jose Arevalo. I'm in Ward 1. I don't have anything to add. I support the amendment. I think it makes sense to open it up to more people. This seems like something that most people in this town would probably think makes sense in order to allow more candidates to that have good qualification to be a part of the library board. I think 5 members on the library board is not a huge number, and so 1 seat matters a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. More comments?
My name's Barry Hill. I'm Ward 4. I'm not opposed to change if it makes sense. And I think not everybody was at the last meeting when we found out where this ordinance came from. I think it was pretty evident that this ordinance, the suggestion for this ordinance came because there was a lost vote. Somebody didn't like the way the vote went, and so now they suggest a change to the ordinance. And it was a 11th hour Hail Mary, if you will. It doesn't make sense to me. I would say making a change when it makes sense, I'd be in favor of it. This one to me does not make sense. It's a completely different agenda. You can hide behind 3 or 4 pages of rhetoric. The council voted against the recommendation of the Hillsdale Community Schools Board, who are very capable people, elected officials that do represent this city. So, I know you as a committee or tax was trying to sort this out tonight, figure out if it should go on to council. But I would ask you to take a strong look at what's behind all the movement on this ordinance. And somebody said, well, you know, just because it's been there for 40 years doesn't mean it can't be changed. It's true. We should look at it and see if it makes sense. It hasn't been challenged in 40 years. There has not been a problem before. And there's not a problem now, except somebody lost the vote and now they want to change the rules. And I think it's wrong. So I would hope that you would vote it down and stop it here. So these people have other things to do, and you have a lot of other things to do with your time also. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Holly Carpenter. So far you've heard a lot of people in support of this amendment except for Mr. Hill. And I will tell you why a lot of people are not speaking up. Because those that have spoken for keeping the amendment have been called groomers, have been accused of pedophilia. That's wrong. There are a lot of people that don't want this amendment to pass. And if you look at the people that want it to pass, they're all affiliated with one place. Those of us that live in this community and have lived here for a long time, things were good until the last year. And now there's a lot of conflict, and it all goes back to one person. And what is his ulterior motives? So I encourage you not to change the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. More comments?
I got my boots on, I'm supposed to be cleaning horse stalls right now. I'm probably gonna get in trouble when I get home, but it's probably proper to wear it here because of everything that's been going on with this subject. I'm not from Hillsdale town. I live in Pittsburgh, my kids go to Hillsdale school. But the drama that's been going on, I watch you guys all the time. You guys really have a lot on your plate with this. But I agree partial with the amendment, with what the councilman is wanting to do, but I don't agree with all of it. I do believe a city council member should be on the board. I think if it's gonna be this guy, he needs to be reconfirmed by the whole council, because he was on the library board as a citizen. Now since he's been elected, maybe someone else should be on it, but it should be a council member. And that council member should sit at the head of the board. I do not believe that Hillsdale School District should be on the board. That's the part I agree with. But I also think that Jefferson Township and Hillsdale Township need to be represented. There's 4 wards in this city, and there's 2 townships, but money go to this library. Why not increase the board from 5 to 7, 6 residents, 1 from each ward and 1 from each community, township, and 1 person from the council sitting at the head. The council member would not have a voting right, only a tiebreaker voting right, whatever, if he or she has to break a tie when they have a vote. And that person's responsibility is to report back to the city council and to be the middle person from city council to the library. Change has to come, I agree with that. But there's been a lot of drama. It's time to put all this past the community. I'm mad about Pittsburgh Township. My kids go here. But what goes on in this town affects the whole county. Whatever people's political agendas are, who cares? I'm retired military and retired federal law enforcement. Now I clean horse stalls for my wife so I don't get in trouble. But I figured I'd come to speak to say, hey, something needs to happen. Maybe not this amendment completely, maybe parts of it, But I think it needs to go back to the drawing table, for sure.
Thank you. More public comments?
I'm Greg Kurtz, and I live in Ward 3, and I'm against this amendment. I think the school board should have a person on the board, and that's just the way it should be. And I think we know, or at least I think we know the agenda of a certain city council member. I'm gonna get into something you're probably not gonna like because it's divisive, but I think the agenda is to keep a person off the board from the Hillsdale City Council, and we know who that is, because he disagrees with banning books. And that is exactly what's gonna go on, and it is going on with the Hillsdale City Library. Nobody should ban books. Nobody. Whether you disagree with it or not, people have the right to read books. If you don't want your kids to read books, don't let them. If you don't want to, don't let them. But let's not ban them, and I think that's what this is about. And if you do this, you're gonna have even more problems. And as far as I'm concerned, when you start banning books, that's Nazism. And as far as I'm concerned, the people who are spouting this are Nazis. And I'll be damned if I'm gonna put up with it. You need to vote this down.
Thank you. Any further comments?
I'm Sarah Yax from Ward 4.
I'm sorry, you.
Sarah Yax from Ward 4. I called and messaged each of you individually already. I can't speak as eloquently and authoritatively as some other comments that you've heard already tonight. So I'll just reiterate simply that I'm for the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Brett Ferrugia out of Ward 1. I think, I won't speak for or against the amendment at this hour, but I believe that you can see the issue is divisive between these two sides here. So at least, if we are Democrats and small d Democrats worrying about the democratic process and representation, this vote should at least go to the full council, considering the weight of the issue here. I believe certainly that the amendment should go to the council and let the entire representative body decide on the issue. That's what I'll say.
Thank you. Any other further comments? My next door neighbor is here.
Yep. Jimbo in Ward 2, and I've also contacted you individually. I wasn't planning to speak very long, you've already heard my comments, but several of the things Mr. Palladino stated just rubbed me the wrong way. Full disclosure, I worked for Hillsdale College. I also served on the school board for 19 years. I also served 2 different times on the library board. My interest and always has been what is best for the city and particularly for the students and youth of our community. I want to start there with community. Josh spent a lot of time talking about politics and about the city and so on and about the schools. I'd just like to remind you, it's called the Hillsdale Community Library. It doesn't serve just Hillsdale City. The schools are also Hillsdale Community Schools. It doesn't just serve the city of Hillsdale. There has to be a wider outlook and a wider outreach. If the school, if the library, and if the city is going to do its best to meet the needs of everyone in the community. Josh talked about the wealthy and powerful school board. As a school board member, I was one of 7 people. If I had my own agenda, I couldn't just put forth my agenda. I had to work with the other people on the board. I was one of 7 votes. I'm against the amendment, by the way. The school board member is still 1 member out of 5 on the library board. 1 vote. To suggest that the Hillsdale Schools is going to use their power and influence to affect the library, I can tell you from being on the board, I was doing my best to support the board and everyone else on the board. I had no agenda from the school district. I think it's important to have a liaison there so the school district is abreast of what's going on with the library. And if the library board wants more information from the district, they have an easy way to get it. I would like to refer to where this current school board member being appointed to the library board started. I have it with good authority that the mayor approached Mr. Flannery and asked him if he would apply to be on the board. The mayor did not contact the school district to find out what their procedure was, and I am pretty sure he knew what the procedure is because of conversations that I had with him when we had our last library board opening. Be that as it may. Josh talked about accountability. If the school board members you think are not going to be accountable on the library board, gentlemen, we have bigger problems in this community. I have firmly felt ever since I was on the school board members have the best interests of the school and the community at heart. It takes both pieces. Yes, I said the school board isn't just for the city, but exactly that. It is for the city, but it's for other organizations, other groups as well. Josh and several other people have talked about this making available a wider pool of candidates. Ever since I've been on the school board and ever since I was on the library board, it was essentially pulling teeth to try and get someone to apply to be on the library board. It's an unpaid position. One last thing. Shoot, sorry, lost my train of thought.
Take your time. Jim, we'll have a second public comment section.
Okay, yep,
At the
thanks.
end toward the end of the meeting, so gather your thoughts and come
Yep.
back. Any other public comments? Fine, probably.
I hate public speaking. I'm Sue Reed, Ward 3. I'm a proud graduate of Hillsdale High School. I have 3 children that are proud graduates of Hillsdale High School. I just feel I have known people on the school board for 30, 40 years. And these are people of the highest caliber. They are people that I truly respect and trust. And I just think that they have done a marvelous job with all of the things that they have had to encounter, including being on the library board and being on other committees. I just feel like they're just amazing people that volunteer copious amounts of time. And I think they have our best interests at heart, and that's all.
Thank you. Any other further comments?
I got one question. Jack McLean, I got one question. If you guys got letters or whatever from people, are you gonna read them so everybody knows what's going on?
No, we don't read the letter. We take a long time to read.
So it's not,
We got a lot of
letters.
okay, so, but you don't know how many it's for or against or anything like that?
I do. I don't know what time it is.
Are you gonna tell us?
It was a good even split.
Oh, yeah, that was 50.
It was very even, but I'll tell you what mine were. I had 25 to review the wording in the.
Can you use your mic, please? We can't hear you.
Thank you.
I had 25 letters to remove the language in the current ordinance, and I had 23 to keep it as is.
I had somewhat similar, but mine was 23 to keep the ordinance as it is and 20 to remove the language. So it's similar, 50-50 split.
It's real pretty. But you could also tell where it was coming from.
No,
Yeah,
I can imagine
anyway,
that. Yeah,
Jack, you have the floor.
Yes. The city is having trouble. They can't fill any of their committees fully like they should. I mean, that's part of the problem right now, so the school board thing is, you know, if you can get somebody to sit on it, then why not? Education part, I guess I'm not sure what Mr. Palladino thinks the education should be, because part of the responsibility of the board is maintenance. And I'm not sure he could pound the nails straight in the shingle if he had to do maintenance at the library, which is part of his job as being part of that's maintenance. I mean, that's what he read, that's what it says. As far as being taxpayers, I guess then if I live in the city and I rent a house, so I'm not paying any taxes, then I have no right to really say what can go on, because I'm not really a taxpayer in the city, I just rent. So that's another thing I don't quite understand where he's going with all that. One thing I will say that I know he's on 2 committees, I know he's the secretary for 2 committees, and I know you can't get the minutes from him like you need to, which is law. The Public Meeting Act says, you know, those have to be out in a certain time. He just doesn't do it. I don't know why, if he's too busy or what, I'm not sure. People talk about the college, I'm not sure if they were talking about the beauty college or maybe Jackson Community College. We're getting back to townies is what we're coming back to. I mean, that's happening. And I'm sure a lot of you know, remember all that stuff. And I don't think that's what we need. I think everybody should have a right to read books. I mean, I was looking today just because I was looking through the dictionary and there's queers and there's homos, but Mr. Palladino doesn't want any language like that in the library. So I'm not sure what Webster's gonna do. He'll probably go down the drain too, probably. I do pay taxes in Hillsdale Township. We do pay money to the library, which we have no representation whatsoever. Right along with, and I don't agree with the numbers they come up with. I'm not throwing this out there, but I know I got a library card that I haven't used in probably 30 years. So when you take the number of library cards in Hillsdale Township and you divide it by the money we give you, then, you know, how's that work when I haven't been there? The only reason I got a library card, because I had one when I was in 6th grade, which was like 60 years ago.
Thanks, Eric. Any other comments?
Brianna Crowell, Ward 4, I emailed all of you. I, very much like Barry, I'm not opposed to change, but where is the transparency that is coming from? Where is this coming from? I feel like we know where this is coming from. In the past, Hillsdale Community School Board of Education has put forth quality library board appointments. Jim Bowen, Bob Batt, Jean Nolan, Leanne Rumler, many of them serving multiple times. Why all of a sudden? I can tell you why. Last week, or maybe it was a week ago, it was stated, this is political, it is not personal. We were talking about, Mr. Palladino talks about how political beliefs should not impact anything, making it ineffective and infuriating. Yet these wheels have been set in motion because he did not agree with Mr. LaRue's appointment, because he does not agree with Mr. LaRue's politics. I know that Adam said both candidates were qualified in his apology when he sat right there and said, so I just picked first come, first serve. So to stand up for people to say that Mr. LaRue is not qualified is not, it's not appropriate. It's not appropriate to imply that the school board would put forth an unqualified candidate. Again, where it's coming from. This was all done. A unanimous decision came forward from Hillsdale Community School Board. I'm very familiar with the Board of Education. They work very well together. They are a very cohesive group. When a decision is made, it is unanimous. That is how they go. We talked about no taxation without representation. What about the penal fines? Hillsdale Community Library also receives state aid. Those people, I have friends who have rentals, they own the rentals. They are paying the taxes on the rentals. They do not have representation, they do through the school board. I am just having a really hard time listening to people talk about this powerful and wealthy school district, like we're coming in to do something nefarious or something, when, as I've said, as far back as we can go, like I can only find till 1979, possibly further. I would need to go see Joanne Miller at the Mitchell Public Library, or at the Mitchell Historical Center to find out. But I am just feeling like, if this is all being done in good faith for an amendment, why is it showing up to a council meeting with no copies? Because it was done on spur of the moment. Why was it not brought up at a library board meeting to the board? This is the same way that we lost the head of our board, the president of the library board, when something else was sprung on someone. There seems to be other agendas going on here. And that frightens me. It does. It is a community library. I love my city. I was raised here. I am from Hillsdale Community Schools, kindergarten through 12th grade. I chose to come back here and teach here. I love this town. I love this library. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Hello, my name is Tara Scott. You also got my letters back, because I assumed. I sent them an email, so I'm assuming that you guys got them. I also want to reiterate that Pat Flannery is on the school board, and Pat Flannery voted along with the school board unanimously for Dan LaRue. And I think that's a point that's not getting across here, that Pat Flannery also wanted Dan LaRue here, and that was voted down primarily because of a political issue, which Joshua Palladino is very, very public about being so political. I've actually been in contact, I'm fortunate enough because my sister-in-law in Algonac is the head of a library. And she has been reaching out to get some information from me and communicating with people. And she has talked to 13 other libraries in her area. It is very common practice to have somebody from the school represented on the community library board. It's pretty standard that she knows. It's in her library as well. She got me in touch with Claire, I'm not sure I'm saying her last name right, Mambila from the Library Law Consultant, Library of Michigan. And I have been speaking with her, and I have been giving her tons and tons and tons of information about what's going on here, and she actually already knew about what's going on, and she is watching. She told me, she's like, yeah, we're keeping an eye on what's going on in Hillsdale. But I think the problem with what's going on in the library in the past year was never the school board member. It was never the school board member. It's this current city council representative. And he took an oath, to represent the library. And in his comments publicly, and his changes at city council apparently, he has a fiduciary duty to always act in the best interest of the library. Not the best interest of a personal agenda, political view, religious view. Board members who use their decision to impose personal, religious, political, or other beliefs onto the library users are not acting in the best interest of the library and the entire entity or community. This is a community library, and it's a library for the entire community, not just groups and not just specific demographics of the board members and who they identify with.
Okay, excuse me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Ted Jansen, Ward 1. The school board is nonpartisan. Council members ran as nonpartisan members. The mayor talked about, well, right now we got 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans on the library board, and there's a balance of power, and the majority of people in Hillsdale are Republicans, so he's looking to put a Republican. Politics should have nothing to do with this library board, yet this is exactly why we're here. It has nothing to do, well, let's update this, get modern. No, it's just under the guise of that, it's just politics. We want a certain political group to control the library board. That's what it comes down to. Are we not to work for the best interest of all of the community. We keep politics out of our library board. We keep politics out of our school board, as Mr. Flannery, definitely a Republican. He had no problems with Mr. LaRue because there's no politics involved in the school board. And yet, here we are, City of Hillsdale. We got Mr. Palladino. You know, if you want to change something, remove the council member provision. Because the council member gets 2 bites of the apple. If he doesn't like what goes on at the school board, at the library board, well, then you know what? I'm just going to bring it to council. I'm going to have another vote on it. How wrong can that be? We need to stop thinking about red versus blue, Republicans versus Democrats, whatever. What good will come from creating more division in this community? Change things when it's for the good. Because right now, you got 50-50. Are there going to be winners or losers? Or just, you know what, let's just leave it lie. Because our forefathers back in 79 when they did the chart, they thought it was pretty good. And all the councils since then, about 24 councils thought it was okay, except Mr. Palladino. We need to change. A very eloquent argument, intellectual argument, but we're real people. We like to see people get along. If there's an issue about books, there's a process about books. Even the mayor said there was one book that he thought maybe was inappropriate for young kids. A parent brought it up, and the library board's going to look at it. But if you go back into Mr. Palladino when he's on the board, before he's a council member, as far as banning books, he thought Harry Potter should not be in the children's section. That's the slippery slope that nobody talks about. It's just not some gay one.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
My name is Karen Hill and I'm in Ward 4. I would just like to say that anyone as a citizen can present an amendment to an ordinance, but I would hope that they would follow the right protocol and come to the O&G committee or whatever committee needs it to come to in any council or any library board or school board. There's a protocol that you follow. Quite frankly, I'm surprised you three weren't outraged that he brought that policy up in a public forum, in a public setting, without having the courtesy to come to your operation and governance board first and follow the correct channels. That also happened, as someone else mentioned, in our library board, where Mr. Palladino proposed something without having the courtesy to come to our library director, our library board president at the time, or any member of our board, and we're just blindsided. I think there's a time to be courteous and a time to follow the right protocol, and I'm offended that he had time for a 25-minute pontification tonight on writing something up, and yet he's missed 2 of the last 5 library board meetings without notifying the director, the president, or anyone else. And as Mr. McLean has said, didn't have time to write up the minutes, and people called Katie Price at the office here asking for those minutes, and they weren't presented in a timely manner. So I'm just wondering where people's commitments are. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Penny Swan, Ward 4. I'll follow what Karen said. I'm fine with people wanting to do whatever they want to do as far as amendments and things, but follow the proper procedure. And last summer, he pushed that amendment at the library board, sent out a letter to hundreds of people, and then I have it on video. He said, well, he didn't think anybody'd come. That's a bold-faced lie. He begged for people to come. He did the same dang thing here. Last Monday night, he presented this amendment. It wasn't on the council packet, so the citizens could know about it. He just threw it out here at the last minute. That's not a very transparent way for a government to be run. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Good evening. Jake Bruns, Ward 1. I just wanted to say that I support the proposed amendment to the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeremiah Regan, Ward 3. Thank you for your time. I've heard several comments that the library should not be political. That's wrong. Library is political. It involves taxpayer dollars. That's the fruit of our labor. It involves decisions made about what our community assets will be used for. Those aren't political questions. So I ask that you support this proposal to amend the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Hello, my name is Elias McConnell. I live in Ward 3. I'm a husband and a father, a disabled Marine Corps veteran, a small business owner, and I serve on the City of Hillsdale Planning Commission as the secretary. When I previously served in the military, it was to protect the exact reasons that were given for this proposal. I appreciate that we are represented by our elected officials and that representation gives all of our voices meaning when it comes to our local issues. I'm in favor of this amendment to our ordinance and hope you will recommend it to council.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
My name is Brittany Bays and I'm in Ward 3. Mine's more so a question, I guess, than a comment, but this is all about an amendment, right? So I'm just curious if we would even be here talking about this if it wasn't Dan, but if it was Flannery and Mr. Flannery instead. I'm just curious if, maybe I could ask Mr. Palladino himself, you know, we're all here talking about this. Did this just happen after it was Mr. LaRue? Because if it's really about the amendment, he should have had it long ago.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Any other public comments?
Excuse me. My name is Tim Voorhees and I live in Ward 3. I oppose the amendment for the following two reasons. First, a school board member on the library board provides a direct link that enables the school district to voice the educational needs of the school to the library, and the library to in turn hear the needs of the school district firsthand. The library and the school board work in tandem to enhance the learning opportunities for children. The school promotes summer reading to reduce the slide in learning and reading when the kids are on summer break. The library provides that opportunity. Library staff visit classrooms as guest readers to promote the importance of being lifelong readers and learners. Students can access the library's online resources such as Library, Mel, and Tutor.com. School classes visit the library for many learning experiences. Please do not sever that partnership and link. Secondly, the library is a community library. It serves not only the city, but also Jefferson and Hillsdale townships. Taxes from these two townships go towards funding the library. Who will represent these two townships if not the school board member that was voted in by the constituents of these two townships? Please do not terminate this representation and possibly reduce the funding of the library. I ask the committee to consider these reasons and to vote no on the proposal. Additionally, I guess I would like to add that I feel that this is just another step to divide the community. And the divisiveness that has been going on at the library for almost a year now is got to stop. And I just feel like this is just another step that adds to it.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Jeff Cooley, Ward 3. I just want to echo what Mr. Jansen said here and remind everybody that all of these positions are nonpartisan positions. Whether we're talking about council members, library board members, school board members, these are all nonpartisan positions, yet we're using politics to decide who should be on these boards and who shouldn't. It doesn't make sense, right? If it's nonpartisan, that shouldn't have anything to do with it. And also, I'm going to agree with Mr. Voorhees, the division in this town has been horrible. I think Mr. Palladino is the one stoking that division, and I think the best way to stop it is to not let this proceed. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Hello, Councilman Colin Brown, Ward 3. I already emailed all three of you last night. Councilman Sharp, thank you for your response. So I'm just going to keep it short and reiterate what I already said. But as far as I know, the amendment would not require, or I should say, would not prevent someone from serving on both the Board of Education and the Library Board. It just strikes me as an unnecessary requirement to have someone from the school board on the library board, as well as an unnecessary restriction on the mayor's power. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
My name is Liz Webb. I've emailed each of you. I live in Osseo. I use the library frequently since I was about 7 years old. I'm going to tell a story tonight. Please bear with me because it will come to an end that connects all of this. Two groups of boys met to play some football. The first group all went to the same school and they played together many, many times under a resourceful, ambitious coach. The other group of boys were neighborhood friends, a sort of diverse group, a ragtag group, who had not played together formally, but they were game. All agreed to play flag football. Amazingly, within 15 minutes, the agile ragtag team had scored. The experienced team didn't like that result, so they came out playing tackle football. Within minutes, one of the leaders of the ragtag team was smashed to the ground and bloodied. Who won? The team who changed the rules. So, moral of the story? If you can't get what you want when you want it, playing by the rules, change the rules. I'm here to ask you to keep the Hillsdale Municipal Code language that places a Hillsdale Community School Board member on the library board. Do not change the rules just to get your own way. Amen.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any other comments?
My name is Mary Brooks. I'm in Ward 4. I had absolutely no intention of coming here tonight and saying anything. In fact, I didn't even know about this going on except for Penny and Tara, who have managed to let people know. I personally am against this movement. I feel like the library should be for everyone. I feel that if we're going to be picky about who's on the board, then perhaps the council ought to be a little pickier about who they choose. And I'm thinking that, you know, if the concern for the board member, for the council member, is what's going on at the library as far as what kind of books are available and who should read them, I believe that that should be addressed to the parents. I have been going to libraries since I was 4. I read murder mysteries when I was 6. I'm not a murderer. It hasn't changed me. And I feel like that someone from the school board who has all of our children's best interest, my grandchildren, should be an asset to the board. And that's really all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
I'm Ginger Novak and I live in Ward 4 and I emailed each of you. So just real quickly, I think as a new resident, I hear people saying, well, you know, it's been like this for 44 years or whatever, but the face of the community is changing. A couple people have brought it up that like in 1979, there really was one school system and all the kids went to that and that was great. It met the needs of the community and that's terrific. At this time, it's not the same. And I don't have numbers. I looked for some, but it was very difficult to find how many people are homeschooling, how many people are using Hillsdale Academy, how many are using the Hillsdale Classical Academy. So the numbers of students represented by the school board member has changed. And I know I don't have any children in school here. Sort of the color of my hair, it's been a while, thank goodness, since I've had a child in K through 12. But the thing is that those parents need to be represented on the library board because, you know, their kids don't have the school libraries either. So I can see where repealing this one member on the library board would be a good idea, so that these other parents whose kids are in an alternative situation will also be allowed to speak on the library board. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we will end the public comment section of the meeting, and we will turn to the discussion of the amendment by committee members. Allow me to point out that define the discussion a bit. We have been assigned by the city council to address this issue and to make a recommendation to them one way or the other. We're primarily interested as an O&G Operations and Governance Committee to address the matter of local governing institutions and how they should be organized. There's no set way of doing organizing a library board. There's a number of ways to do it. We have our way. Ann Arbor has a citywide election for library board members. Adrian has mayoral appointments. There's a variety of things to do. What we have to do is to think of the way in terms of how to organize the city offices. There have been two. I just want to make a couple of points also. There have been a couple of legal questions about the meeting. My friend Mr. Johnson raised one and brought it up at the city council meeting the other night, saying that Councilman Palladino's motion and vote to refer to his amendment to the city library ordinance violated the Incompatible Public Meetings Act of 1978, which prohibits public officials from serving on some, although not all, public bodies simultaneously. We consulted the city attorney on that topic, who stated that that 1978 act does not abrogate the earlier Michigan state statute, which permits municipal governing bodies to designate one of their members to the municipality's public library board of trustees. There was a very interesting anomaly about that. I read the statute that was kindly provided by Mr. Jansen, and I also read the opinion that was delivered in 1995 by then Attorney General Frank Kelly, who was commenting on the Hillsdale BPU, and said that in his opinion, the Hillsdale BPU could not have a council member on it. That was surprising to me because Section 3(4)(c) of the statute as it exists today says that the statute in no way limits the authority of the governing body of a city, village, township, or county having a population of less than 40,000 to authorize a public officer or public employee to perform with or without compensation other additional services for the unit of the local government. I was curious about that, but and I don't know the reason why Attorney General Kelly made that interpretation of the statute, but the likely reason is the statute, since he made that comment in 1995, has been amended 11 times. So it's quite possible that clause that I just read was added subsequent to his opinion being made. I don't know that, but at any rate, the bottom line is that we're operating under the city attorney's recommendation in holding the meeting. The other challenge has come from residents of Hillsdale Township and Jefferson Township who pay a school millage to the Hillsdale Community School District and vote for school board members. These residents also pay money to their local municipalities supporting the Hillsdale City Public Library. Their argument is that to remove the requirement for one school board representative to be named to the library board would remove their influence over that seat, thus amounting to taxation without representation. I consulted both the city attorney and the city tax assessor, who of course knows our tax laws. They agreed that amending our ordinance in the manner proposed would not inflict a condition of taxation without representation. There's reason, however, for the confusion that's involved, because it's a little bit, there's a little bit of complication. The residents of these townships in question pay a school millage and are represented by the school board members. The school millage pays for the school libraries. The school millage revenues do not, however, go to the Hillsdale Public Library. Residents of these townships do pay taxes to their township governments, governed by their elected representatives. Those representatives have chosen to enter into a contract with Hillsdale City to contribute to the support of our library financially. The only people who pay our public library millage are city residents. If township residents no longer want to, and also people who pay, people who own property in the city, if township residents no longer want their townships to allocate a portion of local tax revenues to the city library, their elected representatives are the ones to address. And in fact, Cambria Township has done that. Cambria Township used to pay into this, and they no longer did. This is the, I'll just read quickly the reply I got from the city tax assessor. Jonesville, Litchfield, North Adams, Reading, Waldron, and Hudson have district and community libraries. They're not operated in affiliation with our library, and our library board would have no interaction with them. A resident of Hillsdale or Jefferson Township should take this up with local township board, since that person has access to our library due to the township paying an annual fee out of their general fund, not a separate tax millage to the individual property owners in those townships. So, that's the law with respect to taxation representation. Finally, with respect to some of the comments that we've been receiving, and I appreciate all I must say, this is the most commented upon thing that we've ever had in the O&G committee, in my experience. Councilman Sharp, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually more than the abortion issue.
Oh, yeah.
So I appreciate the interest and some of the very detailed, in some cases, comments that were made by some of our residents. And I also appreciate, of course, the turnout tonight. And if we do put this back to the council, we'll have a public hearing on whatever we do. There are several things that I want to make sure that we're focused on the actual thing that we've been assigned to do, which is to consider this amendment. There are various comments that have to do with Councilman Palladino, the mayor, council members, school board members, other members of the public. These ad hominem arguments are relevant during election campaigns, but they have no legitimate bearing on policy issues. A good person can propose a bad policy with good intent. A bad person can propose a good policy. I give you Adolf Hitler and the Autobahn. The Autobahn isn't a bad idea. Adolf Hitler was a very bad idea. Also, on the matter of persons, we are not here to relitigate the council's decision regarding this. Sorry. I'm ruling you out of order. I'm ruling that phone out of order. We're not here to relitigate the council's decision regarding Mr. LaRue's appointment. Council simply did not assign that task to this committee. We're not here to settle the book controversy.
and the library. We don't know who the mayor will appoint. In fact, the last person the mayor appointed and was approved by the council supported Mr. LaRue publicly, as you may recall. So that's my comments for now. I would like to turn it over to my colleagues for their comments. And I would like to turn first to Councilman Sharp.
Really? Okay, my personal opinion is the councilman that serves on the library board should not be on there, from what he has said on tape, that he wants to get rid of the library. That to me is a prejudiced view and a conservative view. This is a public library. It is supported by the city, Jefferson Township, Hillsdale Township. The amount that Hillsdale Township supports is $8,800. $5,000 Jefferson Township. They don't have libraries. Jonesville does, Litchfield does, all these other communities do. The library not only is a community thing, but also is a place for people to go when we lost power, to get warm, a place of safety. This has become a political issue because when the mayor sat there that night and said, if I knew Mr. LaRue was a Democrat, I would never have appointed him. I am saying this, and this is my offer. I will serve on the library board if Mr. Palladino will step down. I will make those meetings too. I've only missed a few meetings. I've been on council since 2007, and I stepped down from my job-related thing. I'm a Democrat. Oh, God help us. I also vote Republican too. I voted for Bruce Caswell every time he ran because he's a good man. It's not always about politics, it's about what they stand for, and that's what I believe in. I believe this proposal, it should go to council, but I'm not going to support it. I think council should have a say in this. I do not support this, but I will, as I said, I'll be more than honored to serve on the library board as councilman because I do not say I want to close this library down and get rid of it. I want to keep this community library. It is part of this community. And I'm concerned with it. The questions of the books in there, that's concerning too. And I would make sure that we police things up and make sure that the proper books to be in there. When he talked about putting Shakespeare in there, well, if you read Shakespeare, it's not so clean. There's stuff in there that shouldn't be in there, but it's Shakespeare, so it's classic. I have read all your emails, folks. I'm here to support you. I'm here to work with you. That's why I'm offering to take the library board seat and put this to an end. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I turn to Councilman Stuchel.
I'm not gonna try to beat Mr. Sharp's speech. I just wanna thank everybody for coming and all your comments and concerns. As we can see, and even in public hearings between the emails, this is about a 50-50 split. And I agree with Councilman Sharp, this needs to go to full council for the full debate. You know, I'm not gonna, that's where I stand. We all have our opinions and thoughts, and some books you should not compare classics to others, but you know, we do. And I do think there's a lot of things that are taken out of context, and there's things I still try to understand. There's still questions I have. I mean, Karen and Barry, I still would like to talk to you, Leslie, because I know I'm missing something.
I'll show you a book.
And I've seen other things that have come through that there's no way in God's green earth I'll allow any child to see it. And if that's the case, I'm gonna take a hard no on some of this. So there's a lot of things I don't understand, but this is definitely a hot topic, a lot of emotions, and it needs to go to full council.
All right, I have two council members who want to refer this to the council without prejudice, I take it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
So moved by Councilman Stuchel, second by Councilman Sharp. All in favor?
Aye.
Shall we take a roll call vote? Why not? Councilman Sharp, yes?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, yes. All right, that does it. It's going back to the council. And we have time now for public comments, if you so choose. Sorry about that. I didn't. Yes, Mr. Bowen, did you recollect your thoughts?
I did. Three things. First off, someone mentioned school populations within Hillsdale County, within our community. quick look, I believe these to be accurate. Hillsdale Academy is approximately 225 students. Will Carlton, approximately 270. Hillsdale Prep, approximately 70. Hillsdale Community Schools, 1,300. There was a comment that other schools don't have libraries. I know for a fact that Hillsdale Academy has a library. I believe it to be an excellent and well-funded library. There was the point that having someone from Hillsdale Community Schools, that gave unfair representation for Hillsdale Community Schools. That's one library board member. There were 4 other library board members that can and should offer representation to the other 4 schools. So I don't see it as being an imbalance. A lot was said about the divisiveness in the community. The mayor, in a communication with him last summer, said that was the last thing that he wanted. However, that started with one individual, and it has continued. He was on the library board before he was a city council member, and a little has been said about what happened last May. I can only tell you as a school board member what he did about sending out information. I would never have even dreamed of doing that as a school board member without talking with the rest of the school board. My opinion only, irresponsible. A lot of comments about the mayor's power. So typically in the past, if the library board had an opening, the library board would select applications for the position, forward on recommendation to the mayor, and the mayor would pass it on to council. Last time we had an opening, the mayor said, no, they're gonna appoint this person. I questioned him, I was library board president at the time, I said, and I checked the city charter, and I'm like, yep, you're right, you have that. That is your right, and that's what it states. But I just questioned, I said, we wanna know, because it's not been done that way in the past. And he stated, I just feel that this is for the best. And that's what the charter states. But until a year ago, there wasn't I don't want to say mayor's power. The mayor didn't take such an active role in it. Not that they shouldn't, but to say that this is a recent thing with the mayor's power, maybe it was just because mayors in the past felt that the candidate they were getting from the library board was the best candidate. Our current mayor can certainly choose something different, but I don't think there's any attempt on the library board, and hasn't ever been, to diminish the mayor's power or responsibility to do that.
Thank you, and thank you for recollecting your thoughts on that subject. I'm glad we had 2 sessions here. Any other comments from the public?
I would welcome you, Bruce Sharp, to sit on library board. I think that we do need, our trustee manual specifically says that a board should support the library and the director in all things. If you have a problem, you come to the director and talk to that person first, then bring it to the whole board. Those protocols were never followed. And the email blast that went out, I need 100 intelligent people to come, our librarian is filling the library with pornography, was totally unfounded. Since then, Bree Barton, who left, had followed and pulled all the statistics from our library. Some of her comments were, in the gay section, there are 3 books in the junior section. 0 were purchased by Bree. Others were there from 2020, 2006, 2013. In the lesbian section, in the children's section, there was 1 book, and it was a Mother's Day book with all moms, showing different moms marching in parades, making lemonade, baking cookies. And in the parade, there was a gay pride flag. That was it. These statistics Bree brought forth publicly, but yet the mystique out in the community is our library is filled with pornography. And some of the people that have continued that myth have never come into the library to look at the book selection. And when these facts were presented, the secretary, city council person did not attach them to the library board minutes. I had to hand carry them down to Sam Fry. So we want to keep that hysteria going, that the library is filled with pornography, and that we're not going to support it, and we talk about closing it. So Bruce, we would appreciate someone on our library board that actually supports our library and our director and quits being so divisive and spreading misinformation. We're dividing our community. This has been going on for a year. It has caused us staff, it has caused us board members, it has caused friendships. Please be open-minded and listen to the truth. Our new director hasn't even been given a chance and things are being said. And people that have not even come in to meet her or look at anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments at this time?
I'll just play off what Karen said. Last summer, I went and looked at the books that were in Mr. Palladino's long email blast. I actually did a read-through with them, and it's on my Facebook page. Nothing wrong with those books. They're very innocent books, picture books. So I haven't seen any pornography at the library, no sex books in the children's section. I've been in there, I've talked to the librarian. It's a lot of chaos, lies, propaganda that people are buying into. Go to the library, look at the books. It's pretty easy. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
I too want to say that I did also look at the books. It was 66 books total in question compared to the huge amount of books that we have at the library. It was like a ridiculously low amount that he was going after. But I also want to say one more time, part of what the Michigan Library, the legal services sent to me is she said, at no time should a board member, while representing themselves as a board member or while on duty as a board member, participate in or advocate for removal of materials, programs, or items from the library. This action is not only likely a constitutional violation, but a violation of their oath of office and arguably a breach of fiduciary duty and arguably a misuse of the library. I also want to say that libraries aren't parents, and at the end of the day, parents are the ones that need to decide which books their kids get and what books their kids don't get. Not a library council member and not a city council member should not decide what any parent allows their kid to read.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Yes, I'm sorry you guys voted to put this to the full city council because it's gonna be rubber stamped. Pretty sure about that. It'd be great if Bruce was on that committee, but the thing is, you've got Mr. Palladino and Mr. Stockford who have the same views, and you know he's gonna be sitting on that thing. And I'm afraid, what I said before, you're gonna start banning books in that library. You know, what's next after that? You're gonna start throwing them like the Nazis did out in the parking lot and start burning them? Because this could happen. It's happened before. Don't keep your head in the sands. You need to get Palladino off of it.
Thank you. Any other further comments?
I hope this goes for the best of the community. I wouldn't bet it will, but with the buildup of the council, I'm gonna say it's not gonna go, it's gonna change. That's just how council's built right now. If it come in front of council that said the sun was only gonna shine on North Hillsdale Street, it would pass. That's just the buildup of the council. And I hope all you realize that. I mean, that's the way council is right now. And until an election comes up again, it's not gonna change. And I'm thinking when it does come up again, it's gonna keep on going the way it's going. Cause I know there's some councilmen that won't be running again or termed out or whatever. And I'll guarantee they've already found a replacement for them. It's so many of the committees are set the same way the council is. I mean, if you look at the buildup of the committees, it's the same way. one thing, and I guess I don't understand this, is, like the planning commission has a person that does not live in the city. I'm not sure why that is, but that's, and all, I know the townships are the same way. They can have somebody that doesn't live in the township be on the board. But I don't know if that's right or wrong, but, like I said, I think this will go for the change. I'd almost bet on it, in fact. That's just how council's built right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I think my concern is more about the divisiveness of this whole situation, that the country is being more divided, and now we have to bring it home. And bring it home to Hillsdale, and to put one group against another group. I mean, the mayor talked about representation of the people and the majority. 7 of the 9 people on council have some connection to the college. That's like 80%. Should we say, you know what, that shouldn't be right, since not 80% of the people are related to the college, one way or the other. But the whole thing is, you know, I think everybody is fearful of the book banning, the censorship in Florida. Everybody knows who Rosa Parks is. The books used to say, because she was black, she was asked to move to the back of the bus. Check it out today. The publishers have put out, Rosa Parks was asked to move to the back of the bus. No more issues about racism, no sir. And that's where this, you know, are we gonna become the DeSantis of Michigan? Hillsdale DeSantis, where we start gonna limit what is said and forget about our past, about transgressions against minorities or people down and out? That's what the whole thing circles around. And we need to just remove the politics. Get people there who are in the best interest of the community. Mr. Sharp. Him and I don't agree on a lot of things, but I profound respect his views. That he wants to be honest, and that's what we need. Someone to be honest with the people, and don't bring the prejudgments, well, as you saw from Ms. Hill. There's only a few books that might have been questionable, yet it's out there, the misinformation, oh my God, our kids are gonna all turn queer because there's one book there. Question is, well, if the kids read books about transgender and all that.
Okay, Ted.
Okay.
Thank you.
But if they, how come the transgenders, when they read books about normal people,
Thank you, Ted.
aren't normal?
Thank you, Ted. Thank you. Yes.
I just wanted to reiterate again, I appreciate that it's going back to the council. I hope people, as I said, I'm not opposed to change. I just want people to see why. And I am concerned, and I know it came up before council before. I can't remember if it was something that the mayor just stated or whatnot about the removal of Palladino from the library board. I think there is a violation when a person serves on a board and starts saying the library should not be a library anymore. We should take the money and fix the road. And I am not a mathematician, and I do not do numbers, but I'm pretty sure what we pay to that library isn't gonna do much for roads. I'm just concerned, the divisiveness that's happening. It's fine to disagree, I think it's wonderful, but you can do it respectfully, and you can do it honestly and truthfully. There's a lot of slander and smearing that is going around.
Yep.
And it is dangerous. The things that are being hurled at people are dangerous. And it is not okay. And I don't know what to do, but as I said, I'm crying for the city. Because this is not the city that I grew up in. It is not. It is not a caring city anymore. It is a city where somebody sees you and they don't like what you said at the library, and so they turn their backs on you. They ignore you. They have the gall to say hi to your dog and not you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing, if there are no more comments, then we go to the final comments from committee members. Councilman Shore.
I've been on council, like you said, from 2007. The one thing I've done is gone to DPS, fire department, police department, all departments, they all know me. If I get on that library board, you're gonna know me. I will be in that library, I will be snooping around, I will be checking stuff. But I will not criticize, I will not try to burn your library down, I will not throw books out in the parking lot. But if there's something in there's a question, I will ask it too. Because I want to make sure this community is represented in the positive way it is. We've gotten away from it, we need to get back to it. Diversity we have here is terrible, what's going on right now. Republicans against Democrats. If you're not on the right side of the ticket, you're wrong. You're not an American. Go into Toledo, outside of Fayette, there's a farm out there. On his billboard it says, are you an American or are you a Democrat? I take that as an insult. Fortunately, my wife's been with me every time we go by there. Because I would stop, go knock on his door and say, I'm an American, I'm a veteran, and I'm a Democrat. I feel insulted when I see stuff like that. We need to work together. This is a community library. We need to find and fix the solution. I can't say I have the honest answer, but I will definitely work with you guys if I'm appointed to that board. That's up to the mayor. Start sending the mayor some messages. I'll be more than proud to do it. And I won't miss your meetings. I'm retired, I got plenty of time. Thank you, guys.
Any other?
Yeah, just one thing, Dr. Morris, I just wanted to thank you for, and I'm gonna ask you to do it at the city council meeting, to keep us focused on policy. This is not a character assassination, this is what he said, who brought it forward, who wrote it, who did this. It's about policy and what's right for the city. So I appreciate you highlighting that, and that's what we need to keep council focused on. That's all I have to say.
Well,
Thank you.
what we are referring to the council right now is the language in the statute. The other issues that have been raised can be raised in council
Yes.
and by the public, but the actual thing that we're doing tonight is simply to remand this to the council without prejudice. That's what we're doing. And with that, I entertain a motion to adjourn. And I think, I don't know who wants to make that motion. Councilman Sharp, supported, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you for behaving.